Just my mind just numb, blank, and I couldn't even speak. What the heck happened? If we lean into that idea and we believe that, that's only happening here.
A huge cloud of worry that we all deal with. I'm definitely at a point where I would love to get better at public speaking.
I say we jump into something.
I'm already getting nervous for my round.
Whoa! And then the words come. You're the best person to get out there and present because you have it.
Today I'm joined by Shelly Goldstein. Shelly's a keynote speaker and corporate trainer who coached hundreds of individuals across many different industries. And she has a way of speaking that makes me immediately want to take notes. That wasn't always the case though, and in this episode we talk about the barriers to speaking, the role of confidence, and she even has me practice on the spot. Let's jump into the interview. Welcome to the show, Shelly.
Thank you. Great to be here, René.
I actually want to jump in with a story of yours that you told where you actually didn't have all that speaking confidence and the expertise that you have now, but like a situation where you froze on stage. Can you share a bit about that?
I remember the time I was in marketing. I was very good at producing podcasts and webinars and great at helping people present. As long as I was behind the scenes, because that nerves, the anxiety, the fear was kind of keeping me, on the other side. And it was one day when the keynote speaker, their flight was delayed or something, and the owner of the company said, well, Shelley, you wrote the script. You know the process. You're the best person to get out there and present. And what are you going to do with a live audience? And I was shoved out there. A part of me froze. Just my mind just was like numb, blank, and I couldn't even speak. I'm not really sure what happened next, but after a deep breath, several deep breaths, I was able to just tap into why I was there, I guess. And I say I guess because I'm not really sure, or I wasn't sure at the time. And I was able to present, and people were excited. They came up to me after. Everybody was like, that was amazing. You should be the presenter all the time. And I said, what the heck happened? How did I go from completely paralyzed to engaging and speaking? And that started my journey, how I could be, sort of hover between those two planes. And working on that has inspired me to share it with others.
I mean, now you're in a very different spot and in a very different role, giving expertise to others and helping them become remarkable speakers. I would be curious also to talk a bit about common struggles that we come across when speaking in public, when facilitating. We're always like in front of an audience, so to say, or with participants in a room, and the spotlight might be initially on us. What are the common struggles that you see? Because to me, there's like a huge cloud of worry that we all deal with, whether that is like judging ourselves, being scared of being judged by others, that imposter syndrome. How do you perceive from now, like an expert point of view, all the struggles that everyone deals with in the beginning of the journey?
Yes, that really is where we get stuck. It's that thinking of all the possible things that can go wrong. That mindset of, I'm nervous. What if I make mistakes? What if I don't deliver value? The audience probably is smarter than me in some instances. They know more about this topic. All those ideas of the inner dialogue, the negative, the fear is a simple, well, I say simple, but it's a matter of reframing. Mm-hmm. So in the Remarkable framework, you want to start with reframing. What if somebody knew something more than you do? Okay, we can't know everything. It's impossible. The audience that we're presenting to is actually on our side. They want us to win. They're there to gain our knowledge that we've built up in our area of expertise. So reframing some of that fear and just a matter of I'm nervous to I'm excited can shift your energy and your ideas to say they're not here to fight me, they're here to welcome me. And whether it's an audience of one to many, or one to any, the idea of public speaking is speaking to one or more people. And also, if you reframe that idea, okay, I speak to one person, I speak to 30, I speak to 1,000. It's the similar concept of reframing how you show up.
Interesting. Yeah, I also heard that it's a very common technique amongst athletes that they channel anxiety or nervousness before performing into excitement, and that actually the physical symptom of anxiety and excitement is the same.
That's exactly right. So it's a matter of what word you're choosing to share or you're choosing to accept for that day, for that moment for yourself. And there is a lot to learn from athletes because what they're really fantastic with is focus. When we get so focused or in that zone, you hear the athletes in the zone, the artists in the zone, all of a sudden, time stands still. We have no concept of time because we're really embodying how we feel about what we're presenting, what we're doing. And the little words of fear, the little ideas that come up that stop us, don't even come into play when we've completely embodied. So from the remarkable framework, it's reframe all the way to do it, to actually feel the essence of great and remarkable speaking. You need to embody that idea, which is exactly what we can learn from athletes.
Can we also reframe limiting beliefs in that sense? Because one thing, I guess, is reframing a situation, for example, anxiety into excitement outwards. But what about like, am I good enough to hold this presentation, for example, or the inner narrative, like all these inner voices that might create anxiety or nervousness in the first place?
Absolutely. That has a lot to do with the reframing piece of what do you tell yourself? So if we're saying, I can't do this, or the audience knows more than I do, or what if I make a mistake? If we lean into that idea and we believe that, that's where we get stuck. I get stuck when I hold myself back. However, that's only happening here. Chances are, like when I froze and then I went into the presentation and the audience was like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. You should be the speaker for this topic at all times. You're terrific. So what happened? They weren't thinking that I wasn't on my game. They didn't care that I made a mistake. That's the disconnect. What was happening in my head wasn't the truth, wasn't what my audience was thinking. As I mentioned, the audience was there to welcome me. They were excited to learn something. They were actually cheering me on. So once we reframe, then we can empower with that new idea, the new idea that I'm okay, I've got this. I may make a mistake. I'm human. I hope we make a mistake. Zoom, we've all been on Zoom for years now. Do you ever forget to turn off the mute button or turn it on? We forget where it is. I mean, it happens all the time. But when we empower this new idea and we say, okay, I'm not going to let that take me down. I'm going to get in my zone. That's when the mic drop moments happen. That's when we say the most incredible things and we really connect with our words because we're not worried about the external, what people might think. We're actually embodying and realizing that the audience is there to support us. And we open up our minds on our own limitations. It's our own limitations, not what the audience is expecting from us.
And it's surprising to see how, in that case, basically like an on or off switch, right? Like whether we want to switch confidence or reframing kind of works as a switch in that sense. However we show up will determine the reality of what happens in the room.
Yes. Yes. Confidence is almost a byproduct. We don't just show up and say, I'm going to be confident today. It's, I've got this. Here's what I know. Here's what I don't know, which is equally as empowering and also an opportunity to, one, gain the trust of your audience. Because again, we can't know everything. We're not Chat GPT or encyclopedias, but also it's an opportunity for us to connect with our audience later. You know what? René, thank you for that great questions. I'm not really sure about it. May I follow up with you after this presentation? But here's what I do know. And that already is an invitation to continue the conversation. And if we think of every presentation as a conversation, like with friends, family, in social situations, it's meant to be continued. And that's where we keep adding to it. And we share ideas. We open that area of creative thinking and innovation because we're willing to share. And again, that trust piece, I don't know, exudes confidence. That's how we express confidence.
Love it. Yeah, that really reaffirms, and I will definitely take that to heart also when facilitating and standing in front of the audience, that the reframing can be the crucial piece. What happens after? Like if we think about like the framework and the different steps, now we did like reframing, what would be the next step?
And then we tap into our self-conscious, which is the mic drop moments, those powerful statements that people go, wow, that's incredible. I got to write that down. But the key is we need to get the reps in. We have to continually practice that by activating, by saying, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to speak more. I'm going to raise my hand more in meetings. I'm going to reach out. As simple as you're in the market and you're online waiting to check out, and somebody has a basket of groceries and there's a sauce in there you've never seen before. Turn around and ask the person, hey, what do you do with that? Is that good? I've seen that on the shelf. Activate, put it into work everywhere you can in your life. That helps you build that muscle, that confidence, that curiosity. And if you're not sure, what do I say? How do I say it? Well, the next step in the Remarkable framework is reflect and reveal. I take people through an exercise of how to tap into your experiences, your stories that have got you where you are today, what you've seen and done, and how you can reveal that and share that with your audience to connect. Oh, you've been through that? Yeah, me too. And the next level is keep quiet. Keep quiet because the silence echoes louder than your words. And it also exudes a confidence. It gives you a chance to maybe say, gee, I'm talking too fast. I need to slow down and take a break. Or I want to get back on my topic. And it also gives the audience an opportunity to catch up with what you're saying. Now, when you're leading facilitations, what do you want the audience to do? You want them to learn very important key tips. Give them a chance to absorb some of that. So we learn the next stage is articulation. Really honing in on your most important message, your one thing you want them to take away succinctly, because they can't learn everything. That's why there's a series of steps. We want them to know certain key things, not overwhelm, and then be the bridge, not the barrier. Learn how to present, pulling different ideas and concepts together as opposed to loading people up with so much information they can't even process. And the second to last step is leveraging that. How can we learn persuasive techniques to really take our knowledge, take our understanding, and really add so much value to the audience you're teaching or speaking to? And finally, take all of that and embody it. Embody it, that you feel it in your soul, in your energy. I've got this, because you have it. We come in to the conversation knowing our skills, knowing our experiences. So the only thing holding back is that number one, reframing.
Yeah, the perception. I love that. Also, coming back to the bridge that you just talked about, it's incredibly connecting, because when we speak with facilitators, often there's a perception that it's like me as a facilitator versus the group, or like I have to lead the group and then I'm somewhat disconnected from the group. But this, to a healthy degree, can be very productive because you can take yourself out and help the group to move forward. But at some point, being the bridge is actually what we're all about as facilitators, right? Like we connect with the people and we try to elevate others. And by being with them and connecting with them is a completely different philosophy than being us against them or us versus them. And I need to impress someone, or my facilitation needs to be so good that the others are like completely blown away by the session. No, it's just laying out the process so that others can elevate themselves.
You're so right. And bridging that gap is you have the opportunity to set the tone. Let people know that you're there to help them. They're there to learn, but creating that energy of a safe space. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. You're going to take them to the next level. And you're right. You're not this separate entity. It's one. And again, they came there to learn something. They're there to support whatever you have to offer. So if we connect the bridge, as opposed to staying on the other side, we realize we're all in it together. We all want the same great experience.
Yeah. You also work a lot with what I saw, the term of like, I am remarkable. And I think it's also, there are a lot of facilitators from that realm, that umbrella, that connect a lot with the confidence. What is something that we can learn from that movement? Can you give us like a little entry into something that like I am remarkable facilitators like stand for and that you see in others?
Absolutely. When we look at our experiences, and I do this little exercise in Reflect and Reveal, when we think about what our experience have been, even our failures, probably especially our failures, because that's how we learn, right? Even the greatest inventors in the world, the Wright brothers, we wouldn't be flying on the moon if there weren't mistakes and failures. So taking and identifying what our experiences have done. I've led the team from X clients to Z clients by implementing these 3 steps. I helped a neighbor who dropped their groceries in front of their driveway. It could be that simple, that personal. 2, I lost a big client because I missed the follow-up email and it went to the competitor. We take those, we identify those stories, those ideas, and we could put the words, I am remarkable because I helped a neighbor when they dropped their groceries. I am remarkable because I made a mistake. I lost a client, but I learned X, Y, and Z. When we put the prefix, I am remarkable, to any of those experiences, that's also part of the empowerment and the revealing of our humanness. And we start to also look at ourselves and go, hey, I've actually done some stuff. That was pretty cool. Again, the confidence is a product of that, because now you are aware of your own value and what you can offer. So the I am remarkable really puts us in a position of saying, yeah, I'm okay. I actually am doing all right and offering value.
Yeah. So coming back to the image that we see, or the light that we see ourselves in, right? Like what we touched upon in the beginning as well. That's amazing. I'm just thinking, because when we work a lot with like facilitation, then there is also public speaking involved, in the sense that we open up a workshop, we open up a meeting, we guide, and sometimes what we embody will automatically lead to what we say. So by feeling more confident, for example, the words that we speak will be much clearer, the pace that we talk with will be much more comfortable for the participants, and the tonality will lead to more trust and also make people feel more relaxed. So yes. I wonder also, through public speaking, you've said like practice, but is there anything that we can do or that you would suggest facilitators to do, like as a specific practice, in order to get to a bit more confidence or a bit more calmness when we deal with a group that is maybe even more senior than we are? Sometimes that might be managers, that might be more senior colleagues. These are situations that many of us facilitators, we find ourselves in.
Absolutely. The idea of reflecting, creating that list of what I'm remarkable about, what I've done or failed at or succeeded at or helped, starts the basic framework of realizing your stories, your experiences that no one else has, that could help explain the technicalities of the situation. A client scenario. Maybe it's something you read in the trades. Maybe it's something that actually happened to you. I shared my experience blanking out in a presentation. My story is my story, but perhaps you and other people who are listening to this are going, yeah, I've had that happen. I get it. That's how we kind of connect. So embodying that, and then leaning into some of the ideas of going out there and activating, like I mentioned, you're in an all hands meeting, raise your hand, whether it's digitally or you're in person, and just ask a question. I mentioned you're in the grocer, talk to somebody next to you about something in their cart or the weather. Find it interesting. Small questions like that, the engagement at any degree a Lyft driver. You talk to somebody at the customs station in an airport. You're on tech support or customer support. Ask the person, hey, how's your day? How are you today? Where are you calling from? Start that conversation. It really helps calm the nerves because now you're learning something about the other people in the room or on the other end of the phone. You're finding commonalities or things you need to learn. And you're less in your head about your own feelings, ideas, and you're realizing, wow, this person's just like me or similar, or what can I learn from them? So those little ideas of getting out there and finding practice moments all day long, a neighbor, the mail person, a shop clerk person, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's a really good one. It's something that also I think I definitely learned when I'm with a group to be the first one that they see when they enter the room. So I go to the door. If it's a physical workshop, for example, I would go to the door and make sure that once they come in, like it's me that they see. And then I can already greet them. We can have a little conversation. And then there's already a level of connection that will make it much more comfortable for me and also for them when the actual session starts because we already know each other.
That is such a great point of exactly if you're presenting, go a few minutes early and introduce yourself. Ask people, yes, get to know them a little bit. So yes, when you're sitting there, there's already a familiarity. Excellent point.
Yeah. When it comes to like the virtual world, we have sometimes many people in the room. It can get like somewhat self-conscious or what I say, is this recorded? Like there's like a disconnect on a virtual world that maybe you don't have like in an in-person meeting. Are there like specific tips you can give for when we speak in a remote setting?
The key is being engaging and involved. And this is going to sound counterintuitive, but online, I would recommend you turn off your camera. You don't need to see yourself, but you need to physically engage by asking questions, putting comments in the chat, being involved as you would in an in-person session. Now, you can't turn a camera off in person, but it's the idea of engaging, asking questions, making comments, thanking the presenter, maybe even celebrating. You have a breakout session and you could call out the person you worked with in the breakout session. You can do those things both online and offline. It's getting involved and not just being invisible.
I love that. We'll take that with us as well. A big disconnect that I sometimes feel that people have when we are in a room, of course, there's like nervousness as well. But to me, there's also definitely some sort of nervousness before hitting a remote session, or I know that people will be coming in and then, for example, the risk of the awkward silence is like way higher in a remote setting when everyone is coming in and somewhat expecting who says something first, right? When you're sitting around the table, the conversation might much more natural spark. People will have small side conversations, and you as a speaker or as a facilitator can ring the bell and be like way more natural, like, hey, everyone. So bridging this is not easy in that sense.
It isn't, but a great way after you've done some introductions perhaps is icebreakers. While the room is filling up, whether in person or online, ask a silly question, something that's like an icebreaker. It could be not related to anything you're going to discuss that day. Maybe what's your favorite Netflix binge, or what's the last best place you had a burrito, and just have people play with the chat, or like you said, have side conversations. And as people are coming in, they realize, ooh, I want to get involved in this. People are chatting and having fun. They're feeling relaxed. What did I miss? I should have come early. It just eases people into the conversation and let it be a little light and fun. That's really what it's about. We want to enjoy the experience. So what can we do to enjoy it? Icebreakers, having open conversation, and give it a few minutes. You don't have to start 8 on the dot. Maybe you start at 8:05. Okay, everybody, we have a little, and make light of what was discussed in the chat. So you could bring it into the conversation. You'd be surprised how you could actually relate that to the topic at hand, because collaborating with teams is all about sharing ideas. It's all about our experiences, everybody's perspectives, and bringing it together and talking about it and having fun with it, to be innovative, to solve problems, to lead to the next level. So encouraging that kind of behavior is really ideal from the get-go. You have an opportunity as a presenter to set the tone.
Yeah. I'm almost excited now to jump into a session to practice all the things we talked about. I'm just thinking a little back because we spoke about reframing so far. We spoke about confidence and the switch of basically deciding how we want to show up, of doing the practice and using everyday situations to show up and take initiative when it comes to speaking. If I would be your student, I'm definitely at a point where I would love to get better at public speaking or feeling more comfortable. And I think that is like an ongoing quest for a lot of facilitators to be like more comfortable with the group and doing like professional work. What would be exercises or little programs that you would lead me through if I would be like your kind of coaching guest to continue on that journey of like getting more comfortable in a social environment or a group environment at work?
Excellent. I think there's a couple of things, and if I may share my screen,
Of course.
I say we jump into something. Okay, so what this is about, I would start with a couple of these games. I'll do the first, and then I'll have you do it. The idea is to say a bunch of incredibly wild statements, and how can we end them? You could also do this by Googling tongue twisters to say things really, really fast that are kind of nonsensical. When we do this, we just get into a flow state and we're not thinking so much. We're not processing. We're just intentionally rambling and sounding silly. It'll look like this. Deer are exasperating because they're just funny. Strange magic is one-sided because it's weird. Big time is impartial because it's blue. Culture is equitable because it is real. Dreams are crazy because they're wild. So you see where I'm going with this?
I'm already getting nervous for my round.
Oh, good. Here we go. Key is just have fun, say something as silly as possible, bring it to a close. Here we go.
All right. Soul is important because this screen is so large. Secrets are individual because they are mine. Retired is biased because this pension. Strange magic is honest because the sky is blue. Soul is stunning because it's my favorite piece of music. Together is magnificent because it's better than alone. Poetry is upright because it makes culture. Ever loving is worst thing because you're never done.
Ah, terrific. What did you think about that?
It got better along the way, actually. And I think in the beginning it was like, okay, what can I put on the end? And then I was looking at actually elements around me to place. But then at some point we got more into the flow and it felt more natural.
What happened? What did you do or not do that got you into that flow?
I think in the beginning I was still very self-conscious or in my kind of bubble here. And as it went on with the time, I think I felt more connected with the content and was actually like thinking with the sentence. So in the beginning, I saw the sentence as a sentence and connected something that maybe didn't make as much sense. But then as it went on, it felt more like, okay, I'm actually saying something and I can add sense to it.
Yes. So in this next round, I want you to not worry about making sense. I want you to just say the first thing, the first thought, the first idea that comes to mind. I don't care if you said, tires are round because they're blue. It doesn't matter. The key is I want you to finish when the clock runs out and just keep going through it as fast as you can.
Let's go. Seagulls are dangerous because the sky is blue. Shut down is stunning because it's better. Gaslighting is impartial because under pressure is decorative because it's beautiful. Fire is terrible because it's better than sky. Love is graceful because, I don't know. Cats are just because better than dogs. Hire is stupid because bumping tire.
Excellent. Okay. What happened there?
Whoa. It's so difficult to not finish with something that makes sense because the mind immediately went to what can I add so that it's logical? And adding something that doesn't make sense feels very wrong.
It does. So there are a couple of things that happen. You're 100% right. Brains, we think, we process in the prefrontal cortex. And that's fine. It's important for critical thinking. It's important in business. However, if we stay too much in that area of processing, that's where we also get stuck. That's where we blank out because we're looking for the right thing to say. We're trying to process, and the processing can take longer than the time we have to speak. Humans are meaning-making machines. We want to make meaning. However, if we revert to the idea that this is a game, the stakes are low. I invited you to make a mess and say anything. It's almost a challenge to just let go and be free in our thinking. But when we do that, that's when we start, the more we practice this. And again, you could Google tongue twisters and just just anything to loosen up and to get to our calm state, because all of our truth, everything we know, is back there in the subconscious. And if we just trust, eventually we're in a flow state, that athletic or musician that's really in that flow. We're trusting and embodying everything we know, and that's where we're speaking from, as opposed to getting stuck here. But again, it takes practice. And I also changed the time on you. I made it faster. The idea being when we restrict time, we have less time to think. We're forced to just make something happen, like fight or flight mode. You touch a hot stove. You have an energy that happens. You're not sitting there contemplating, well, my hand's on fire, it's red, it's pulsing. No, you're, whoa! And then the words come. Our body is energy. So the energy is what creates and fuels the emotion, the feelings, the thoughts. Then the words come. Energy brings it naturally. So the whole idea of the remarkable process is to get us all in that flow state, in that trusting area. It's not perfect. That's okay, but it's human, and we can flow, and we're not stuck in our heads. We're letting the energy source and our truth come through in a very natural way.
It's such a process, right? I'm just realizing, because the default feels like there are so many constraints, like so many onion layers around us that make us focus so rigidly on saying the right thing, like making sense of what is happening. And I feel like that's a huge disconnect to what is happening in the body, right? And the actual flow state that you want to get in. And it feels like this game, doing it over and over, almost channels this process to speaking out of the body instead of rigidly out of this one box.
Exactly right. And it's so interesting you brought up the onion as a metaphor, because I talk about that quite a bit. If the layers of the onion represent each year of your life, it took you that long to build up these habits and these beliefs. So we can't beat ourselves up to say, oh, I'm going to get this right away. That's the practice. That's the work of slowly peeling back those layers of the onion to develop a new behavior, a new belief. And it's not perfect either. I mean, I still have nerves when I get in front of certain presentations. It's natural. It may never go away, but the energy of reframing it, I could take it and say, how can I take this nervous energy and turn it into an energy that's going to be purposeful and useful? It's there. And we have that ability to do it, but it takes practice. Absolutely. It can be done.
I think we can close it on that one. Thanks a lot for your time, the amazing insight that you even brought myself into a little game here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for being so brave. I just did it on the spot. And you did great, by the way, René. You did great.
Thank you. Thank you, Shelley. And speak very soon.